An author or writer's writing style is their own distinctive form of expression with their own unique voice and character within their work. It is also a set of rules that writers and authors alike implement in their works to improve the text's readability and comprehension. It also refers to the manner a writer or author chooses words, forms sentences, and formats their work. It sets the tone of a written piece and allows readers to comprehend the writer's message. One example to illustrate two different writing styles are, perhaps you have forgotten. That's one of the great problems of our modern world, forgetting. The victor never forgets. Ask an Irishman what the English did to him in 1920, and he'll tell you the day of the month, and the time, and the name of every man they killed. Ask an Iranian what the English did to him in 1953, and he'll tell you. His child will tell you. His grandchild will tell you. And when he has one, his great-grandchild would tell you too. But ask an Englishman. He flung up his hands in mock ignorance. If he ever knew, he has forgotten. Move on, you tell us. Move on, forget what we've done to you. Tomorrow's another day, but it isn't, Mr. Brew. He still had a bruised hand. Tomorrow was created yesterday, you see. That is the point I was making to you. And by the day before yesterday too. To ignore history is to ignore the wolf at the door. John Le Carre, a most wanted man. The ones who did it can always rationalize their actions and can never and even forget what they did. They can turn away from things they don't want to see, but the surviving victims can never forget. They can't turn away. Their memories are passed on from parent to child. That's what the world is after all. An endless battle of contrasting memories. Hanukkah Moraka 1Q84. Writing styles are created as a product of commitment on the part of any writer, the author's assertion of personality in the writing and continuous experimentation with language and meaning. These styles also show how a writer reaches their pinpoint in clothing the entirety of the author's word selection, sentence structure, use of literary devices, etc. It forms the composition of every decision, both conscious and unconscious, that the writer makes in the text. Elements of every writing style include word choice, syntax, economy and concision, literary devices, context and purpose, the author's geographical location, the time period, and influences. Word choice are the creative decisions a writer makes in selecting a single word over another and how these choices affect the overall meaning, mood, tone, and ideas expressed to the reader. An example to illustrate this is through the sentences the Union beat the Confederacy during the American Civil War, and the Union subjugated the Confederacy during the American Civil War. The change in the verb beat to subjugated changed the sentence completely. The tone alters from its neutrality and informative tone to a passionate and descriptive tone. No longer retaining its former impartiality, it becomes invested in the Civil War's outcome. The word subjugated conveys to the reader that the Union was very powerful, even suggesting the Confederacy became a victim of the North. Tiny details, such as dictation, have a huge influence on writing styles. Syntax relates to sentence structure, how the order arrangement of words influences the meaning conveyed to the reader. It is closely related to the diction, but differs as it concerns itself with the arrangement of words alongside the length and complexity of sentences. Much syntax is naturally learned, especially to native English speakers. An English sentence uses the typical structure of subject, verb, object. This is used in the famous sentence, the quick brown fox, subject, jumped, verb, over the lazy dog, object. If a writer changed it to over the lazy dog, the quick brown fox jumped. Of course, such experimentations can prove risky, as the reader may misinterpret the construction or read it as shallow or pretentious. Paying attention to the structure, length, and word order of sentences can allow writers to evolve their writing styles. Other ways one might experiment with syntax is with the structure, length, and word order. The sentence structure changes from active voice to passive voice. Here in "The lazy dog was jumped over by the quick brown fox." The sentence length changes in "The fox jumped over the dog." How any author uses each punctuation mark affects the overall style of their sentences. All good writers know how to effectively use economy and concision, knowing how to use few words and make every word count. There are rules and guidelines for concise writing. The economic writer knows these 6 rules. These rules are as follows. 1. Stay away from adverbs. 2. Use powerful visual verbs. 3. Use prepositions sparingly. 4. Use adjectives when necessary. 5. Remain in the active voice unless the passive is needed. 6. Provide the important details only. Let's use an example to illustrate this. We careened from California to Maine. Here's how the above sentence is written. Long in brackets have these rules broken listed above as follows. We were driven 5, swiftly 1, and without 3. Direction in 3, our little blue Chevy 4 and 6. Somehow 1, finding 2, our way from California to Maine. Literary devices are specific writing methods creating novel connections and possibilities in language, such as similes and metaphors. There is a wider range of devices available to creative writers like hyperbole, synecdoche, automatopoeia, and paronomasia. These devices are essential to the author's meaning and their writing style. Other times it is restricted to a single sentence in the text. At other times, numerous elements of writing, plot, characters, and settings act as metaphors for bigger ideas and themes. An example is "Love is so embarrassing. I bled in your bed. I'm sorry. I have built you ashore with all my best and stud the waves. Outer bound clear shores." The use of literary devices is related to syntax and diction, but how a writer employs these devices, make comparisons and connections is key to honing an author's writing style. Last but not least, writers are undoubtedly influenced by their location, time period, and literary influences. If anyone has ever read a poem or novel from Victorian era England, Victorian writers of the time like Bronte, Charles Dickens, and Percy Shelley often wrote in elaborate and overly ornate writing. By modern standards, Victorian writing styles seem overly ornate, but that style was impacted by the era's appreciation for emotional intensity and the tendency to pay writers per word. Creative writing styles evolve in connection to the context and purpose of the writing itself. Every publication has its own unique writing style because the writing serves a different purpose towards different audiences. The audience matters in creative writing. While the audience should not define a writer's style and intent, it is necessary to consider in the editing process before any work is published to the public. Different writing styles are used for different contexts. Features of informal writing styles are colloquial language and terms, a personal and conversational tone, a simple structure and approach, contractions and abbreviations, and empathy and emotion. Colloquial language and terms are used in spoken conversations, including figures of speech, slang, broken syntax, and asides. A personal and conversational tone is implemented using the first person as if you are directly speaking to the reader, and addresses the reader using the second person. And A simple structure and approach are shorter in informal writing, which uses incomplete sentences or ellipses. Contractions and abbreviations within the text are shortened words in informal writing, commonly implemented in informal writing. Informal writing demonstrates more empathy towards the reader, explains more complex thought processes more clearly. Informal writing implements a more personal style in informal writing, which is more suited to conveying emotions. Formal writing styles have these features, which include a complex structure, use of longer sentences, and a more structured approach. Formal writing has points clearly introduced, explained, and concluded. Formal writing has been carefully planned, revised, and reviewed numerous times to ensure absolute clarity and make sure all necessary arguments. The main types of writing styles that are present are in narrative, descriptive, persuasive, expository, and creative writing. A narrative is a writing piece that has a start, beginning, and end. A descriptive piece has detailed prose which grabs the attention of the reader in. A persuasive writing piece is used by writers seeking to market services or products or persuade readers to take action or join somewhere. An expository piece of writing is a style of writing exposing something, educating and revealing something of relevance, such as journalism, how-to guides, non-fiction blogs, or videos such as this video. A creative piece of writing applies to pieces that don't follow the standard rules of other pieces of writing and combines elements of other writing styles like novels, short stories, and creative non-fiction works such as essays and memoirs. Let's talk about the narrative writing style. Narrative writing is commonly located in fictional written works, mainly novels and short stories. A narrative writing style can also be used with writing non-fictional works. However you use the narrative style, it should be formatted using the typical story format, having a beginning, middle, and an ending. This style of writing creates a journey where the writer follows along with, introduces them to a subject, delves into the subject matter, and gives a definitive ending. The piece should be imaginative, engaging, and fascinating to read, and can be written in the first person and have first-hand personal accounts. Ask yourself if your piece of work needs to be written to be depicted as a story, or if the reader is only after fact and you can express it in a simplistic manner. It is not restricted to just fictional writing, with the inclusion of essays and articles, but is too informal for academic and business publications. Narrative writing is storytelling with a given plot and character cast. It is the most common writing style for fiction. Narrative writing can also be used within non-fiction, providing the focus is on the character cast, what they do, and what events happen to them. There are extended dialogue scenes to push the plot's momentum along and offer readers greater insights into the characters. Diary writing is a type of writing that uses the narrative writing style. It is a personal form of writing, logging events from people's lives and emotions. It is an external method to process handling with strong emotions. It can be positive, writing about their gratitude, be around events in their life, set life goals, and celebrate their accomplishments. Examples of diary writing are the famous Diary of Anne Frank and Marie Curie's radioactive notebooks. Memoirs are another form of writing that uses the narrative writing style. It differs to diaries in that a specific part of a person's life is written about, looking back from their past, looking back on events. It is focused on a particular angle or ranging more generally over the personal experience. It is not entirely accurate, reflecting the writer's personal remembrance of events. A memoir filled with tons of dialogue breaks a reader's suspension of disbelief, which doesn't seem plausible that they could remember what was said at a particular time exactly word for word. There is a fixation upon details that are more memorable views. giving the reader a sense of sharing the experiences as if they were really there. Eulogies are another type of writing that uses the narrative writing style. Eulogies are a speech which is a written tribute to a deceased person. It shares similarities with speeches and memoirs, but separates itself with unique sets of traditions and rules. Cliches are to be avoided, such as "we are gathered here today," and phrases that can be said of anyone, such as "she always tried to do her best." Eulogies should not feel generic in its nature. Credits to these sources that I've used for this video. This is the next episode you'll see for this series. See you, owls!